Alright guys, let's get after it. Welcome back to the LS Swap Shop. This is part 2 of the L59 build. This one's going to be a little shorter. I don't know. We're not tearing apart a whole engine in this one. We're just going to be cleaning it up. I'll show you how I clean it up and how I clean everything and prep everything for reassembly, basically. So, in this one, we're going to be slamming out some cam bearings. We're going to be prepping this block to take to the machine shop so they can clean it. The cylinders probably don't need honed or anything like that. I'm going to go over them with my 3-stone and just deglaze them and see what it needs. But also, we're going to be basically just removing all the plugs in the oil galleries and the coolant passageways and getting all the sensors off of this thing so that we can send it to the machine shop. They can wash it in their parts washer, and then we get back a nice fresh clean block that we can start measuring stuff. Same thing with the heads. We're going to take the heads all the way apart, take all the valves out and the springs and the spark plugs and just everything off of it so that the machine shop can clean it properly. Yeah, the cylinders and connecting rods and main caps, we're going to clean ourselves just because we can do that here relatively simply. It takes a little bit longer than an ultrasonic cleaner, but the way I do it, we soak it in the Berryman's Chem Dip for at least 12 hours, and then you don't have to scrub anything. It just cleans everything off. And then you just rinse it off with either in your parts washer or with a hose or in a sink or whatever. But yeah, we're going to get to that. I'm going to get to taking this stuff apart and doing all that good stuff. So stay tuned. Let's get right into it. Enjoy, you guys. So, I'm just going to start by removing all the sensors and stuff off of this thing. The stuff that doesn't need to be on there when it's running through the washing machine. So, cam sensor. It's just one 10mm bolt. So on the Gen 4 engines, the cam position sensor is no longer behind the intake. They put it on the front cover, and it uses the timing gear or the timing sprocket for the signal. And they switched signals on the Gen 4, or from a 1x signal that the Gen 3 uses, and then they switched it up to a 4x signal just for a better definition of the signal. So this one pops out of there. These are not a very common leak point, but do you see how long this is? This goes way down into the block. So, and the O-ring is way down in there as well. So these tend to leak sometimes, but it leaks into where the bell housing bolts up to, so you can't see it when it's leaking. It looks like a rear main seal leak because there's a little cavity back here, and I'll show you this in a minute. Oh, this gasket's still on here. Let me show you this real quick. Let me wipe my hands off. I'll show you what I'm talking about here real quick. It's better. We're all visual learners here, right? So my gimbal will so here's the bell housing bolts, right? Bell housing bolts up to here, and then closes this cavity off, basically. Flex plates in there and whatnot. This goes in here. I don't know if you can see down in here. This goes in here and seals down there. There we go. There you can see the O-ring. This seals off right in there. So when that O-ring leaks, oil pools up here behind the rear cover and fills up, and it drips over and drips down the center of the rear cover, and it'll drip onto the crank, and it'll look like your rear main seal is leaking. So a lot of guys have pulled their whole transmission out and found that their rear main seal is good, only to realize it was this thing leaking. And they reach up and touch there, and it's just a pool of oil right there just dripping down. So be aware of that. If you've got a rear main seal leak that you think is a rear main seal leak, then it might not be a rear main seal leak. So yeah, anyways, that's a common thing. It's not, I mean, I'm not sure how common. I know my truck's doing it right now. So gotta fix that. This, well, I'll just leave that out. Now, this oil pressure sensor, we can pop out of there too. I believe it's just I use a 1 1/16 socket. I don't think I have a big enough socket that'll fit that's metric, but 1 1/16 works pretty good. And it's not usually in there very tight. So yeah, it just pops right out. Yeah, okay. We'll just use the tools then. That'll do. And it's just this little thing here. Sometimes there's a little screen in this hole here for the oil pressure sensor, and that screen will get clogged up, and then your oil pressure sensor will stop working because no oil pressure is getting to it. So a lot of people mistake low, their no oil pressure signal with actual no oil pressure, when really it's just the screen that's in there is clogged. Nothing's actually wrong. So if the screen gets clogged, then there's not going to be any oil pressure to your oil pressure sensor, but the rest of the engine will have oil pressure. I'm not saying treat every no oil pressure situation like that screen is clogged. Don't do that. If you're getting a no oil pressure alarm, or no oil pressure, or low oil pressure, treat it as if there's no oil pressure and shut your engine off immediately to avoid doing damage, and then figure out why there's no oil pressure. Yeah, but you can start there. That's a good place to start. If you ever get that alarm, pop that off of there, check that screen, or take it out. I always take those out, and then put the pressure sensor back on, fire your engine up. If there's still no oil pressure, then that wasn't the problem. So another quick tip for you. All right, those are out. Let's get this crank sensor out of here. Crank sensor is located on the side, right behind where the starter goes, and it is just an 8mm bolt. Another 8mm right here. No, I'm lying to you. Sorry, that's a 10mm. I'm a dummy. It's okay. Good. And that one sealed by an O-ring, just like the cam sensor, which these can leak too. So just be aware of that. I don't really experience too many engines where these are leaking, so it's not. I don't know how common it is. Everything else leaks on these, but yeah, even these the cross bolts for the main caps can leak as well. But they come with sealant on them. I like to just put a little bit of silicone on the underside of the heads just to make sure that they don't leak. These plugs here for the coolant passageways, I pull these out as well. That way the parts washer at the machine shop could get in there and clean all that stuff up and clean out the insides of the coolant passages and stuff like that. So let's see here. An 8mm Allen socket. Yep, that'll do. Then we just pop these off of there. Now, when you put these back, get some sort of thread sealant, pipe thread sealant or something like that, because, oh my goodness, she's on there. She's on there pretty good, like. There we go. Because this does seal coolant from leaking out of your engine. So it's good to have some sort of sealer on there. Oh, can you guys even see what I'm doing? Yeah, you can. Okay. No, thank you. You can stay there. Okay. There's that one. And there's another bigger one on the other side that's coolant related. There's a couple more this size that are for the oil passageways as well. So, like, there's one on this side. Here, let me just flip it over so you can see it. So there's one here on the back. That's the oil passage. And there's one here. That's also an oil passageway. So we'll get those out of there as well so that they can be cleaned thoroughly. So we're going to go, hi-ya! You just got to sneak up on it. All right? Not let it know that you're about to crack it loose. Otherwise, you'll be fighting it. So there's that one. Throw that one in the bin. Hold on. Gotta sneak up on this one. Don't make any sudden movements. Say ya! Like that. Works every time. That one's out. Okay, now the big one. We'll get the big boy. This is a 17 millimeter Allen socket. Goes right in there. That's 1/2 inch, so I'm gonna switch wrenches here. This is a big one, but it still comes out fairly easy. You just gotta, yeah, yeah, yeah. They use the impact palm technique. I don't know what it is. I don't know. Again, for the coolant passages, make sure when you're putting these back, just use some sort of pipe thread sealant or something like that. But these, I think this big one doesn't need it. It doesn't even have any on there because it's copper, I believe. So it just kind of squishes and seals itself. So I don't know. The little ones are steel, I believe, stainless. So they require some thread sealant. Okay, now all the passages are open. Yeah, we can get the cam bearings out now, but let me talk about this oil gallery barbell, or the oil diverter, real quick. I love talking about this thing, and I love telling people to upgrade them, because that's what you should do. So come over here real quick. Let me get this out of the way. I'll bring you around. Okay, bear with me. Oh, sorry, smashed you into the light. I'm going to do my best to explain this little weird thing. Oh, hold on. The way that these engines are made, the LS engines and these Gen 3 4Tech engines, or Gen 4 even, the LS based engines. You know what I'm talking about. You don't have to tell me that they're not the same, because they are. They're all Gen 3 and Gen 4 small block GM V8s. They're all the same design. Anyways, there's a little plug at the back of the oil gallery. This oil gallery goes all the way along the side. You can see it in the casting sometimes. Well, all the time you can see it, but when they're dirty, you can barely see it. But it's this little passageway here. It goes all the way up to the front to a freeze plug, or just a plug. I guess it's not a freeze plug if there's no coolant. The oil's not going to freeze and expand. And then it goes over this way a little bit to where the oil pump pumps the oil. So what this little barbell does, or it's called an oil diverter. Let me see if I can get it out of there for you real quick. What it does is it diverts the oil coming from, hold on. It diverts the oil coming from the oil pump, and I just stabbed myself with that. And I felt it go into my skin. That didn't feel good at all. I'm probably bleeding inside my glove right now. It diverts the oil coming from the oil pump, and I don't know if you can see this here. Let me move you to the side here. Let's get some more light on this thing here, so you can see the actual passageway. So this is the oil passage coming from the oil pump, and then it goes all the way through, and it's just basically just a tunnel all the way through the block. That way they can drill it out and make it smooth after it's been cast, right? So it's because it's cast into the block, so it's got rough surfaces on the inside, so they make it just a straight line through, just so it's easier, quicker manufacturing, just to drill it out and make it smooth on the inside. And then so that means that they have to use this weird plug deal, so that okay, so this is the oil diverter, and from the factory it's made of plastic. It has an O-ring on the end so that oil doesn't come out of that oil gallery and just go back into the pan, because then if that happened, you would have no oil pressure at all. So the flaw in this, not only is the design flawed, I mean, it's just a straight line and it needs something to tell the oil where to go. That's kind of a flaw in itself, but is that there's no O-ring on the front of it. This does fit. I mean, it's not very tight in there. There's probably like, I don't know, I want to say like a millimeter of clearance. Probably not. It's probably not that crazy. But this, there's no O-ring. There's nothing sealing it, stopping oil from getting past this. And the reason that's important is because this goes in right there, basically, in between these two parts here. Let me get you a closer look. So this is the oil galley, right? Oil comes from the oil pump this way. And then this stops it right there. This goes right in there, stops it from going any further, and it diverts it into the oil filter. And then it goes and gets filtered into the oil filter. And then it comes back out and goes this way. And then it can go here. And then from there, it goes up to the lifters. And then it goes down to the camshaft. And then it goes down to the main bearings. So this is not a priority main engine at all. It goes, the lifters are the first thing to get oiled. But there's no seal on this part. There's no seal on this front part. So sometimes dirty oil gets past this part of the thing here, and that's not cool, especially for a freshly rebuilt engine. You don't want dirt or debris getting past your oil filter. You want the oil filter to filter the oil, right? So we replace these always, I do at least, and you should too, with a billet aluminum piece that not only fits tighter in the bore of the oil gallery that it goes in, but sometimes I get ones with two O-rings on the front. This part's a little thicker, and it has two O-rings here, one O-ring on the back. That way, zero oil, zero dirt and debris are getting past your oil filter, and yes, thus cleaning 100% of your oil instead of 99% or 98 or whatever the percentage is. But nothing gets past the new style, and let me show you those real quick. We're just going to throw this away because this is trash. So I get these. Recently just started getting these because these are of higher quality. This is made by Improved Racing. I just got grease and stuff all over the thing there. But this is billet aluminum. It fits tighter in the hole. It's got a threaded back piece so that you can take it out easier. But it's also got an O-ring on the front of it and the back of it. This part's a little bit wider as well. So this will fit snugly in there and divert every single ounce of oil up into the oil filter instead of letting any past it. Some people have tried to argue with me that the bypass function of the factory style oil galley diverter barbell is needed because in case your oil filter gets clogged, it needs to have somewhere to go. And my argument to that is, what? Because if your oil filter is clogged, I think you have bigger issues than what style oil diverter that you're using in your engine. So that is not a very good argument. But anyways, replace those with a better style. Just like most of the replacement things on these engines are made better for a reason, because they weren't that good to begin with. This one is one of them. Upgrade your oil gallery barbell to aluminum with at least two O-rings, and that's all I'm going to say about that. You could listen to me or you don't, and that's fine. Like it's up to you, you guys. But I do this a lot, and it just makes sense. Anyways, let's continue. That is kind of it. I got to take these bearings out, which is just, goes like this. Maybe it goes like that. It goes like this. Blue bearing. Oh, come on out of there. This thrust bearing. Boot. Hey. Okay, bearings out. cam bearings can come out now. It's a pretty simple process. You do need a special tool for it, but they're not that expensive. I got mine for around like $60 on Amazon. Not that crazy. We're gonna start in the front. Oh, where's my cone? I need the cone. So this tool is specifically designed, this one here is specifically designed for the LS cam bearing bore. They make other tools which have different end pieces so that you can do different sizes of cams. But this one here is only for the LS, and I think anything that shares the same sizes of cam bearings. So let's get you a better view. My mic's still on? Yes, it is. All right. Good day. Good day. Okay, so this first one's pretty simple. Stick it in there and hammer it out. And there you have it. They come out pretty simply. Couple of whacks with the hammer. And these actually looked, I mean, these looked like they're in great shape. But like normally, these are reusable. Even though there's a bit of copper showing, they're still pretty good shape. So just use your better judgment. At least look at them. People will tell you, don't look at the cam bearings. Like it's some sort of funny thing to just reuse the crappy ones, but it's not funny, you guys. It's just weird. Ah, just broke my hammer. I guess it's time for a new dead blow. That thing just smashed. Okay. Continuing on. My phone ran out of storage space, so got that second one out of there. Broke my hammer, and now we're on number 3. That one came right out. Okay. Yeah, these all look like they could have been reused, but I like to replace them when I'm rebuilding an engine for a customer because I'm rebuilding an engine. I'm not using old bearings on a rebuild. That's not how rebuilds work. So out. That one, same as the other ones. Great shape. So, one thing you have to know before ordering your cam bearings is after a certain year, they switched the sizes of the first and last bearing journal. I forget what years that actually was. I think 04 they went to a larger size. I don't know yet. I gotta look it up after I'm done with this, and I'll probably edit it into the video and let you know. But there are different sizes, so I know that on an 03 I would use Durabond CH10s, and they would fit 03, I think, and then 04 and above you use CH25s from Durabond, which are different outer diameters of the 1 and 5 position cam bearings. But like I said, I'll edit that in to give you the exact info and whatnot. So cam bearings are out. Now let's get this tool out of here gently. This thing is awesome and I love it. Works just the same for installing them, and you'll see that. Okay, so now I'm pretty sure this block is prepped pretty well for the machine shop. One thing I do like to do though is go through and make sure all the threads are somewhat clean for the main caps and the head bolts, just because sometimes at the machine shop they don't get in there very good. They just throw this thing in a parts washer and call it a day, which is fine by me. I mean, I don't mind doing a little bit of extra cleaning, but when you get the gunk out of the head bolt holes and these should be fine. They're just oil in there. There's not like whatever the heck is in the head bolt holes, but yeah, I'll show you how to do that real quick. Other than that, this is ready to go to the machine shop and get cleaned. Or, you know, if you don't want to take this to the machine shop, then you can clean it yourself. I really recommend taking it to a machine shop or somewhere with one of those big cabinet style parts washers. They do amazing for engine blocks. I tell you, it's worth it. I mean, for a block and a set of heads, it's only about 150 bucks sometimes. But I think I paid last time it was for a block, the heads, the oil pan. Yeah, it was 150 bucks for all three of those. So maybe 100 bucks for the block and the heads. But it's worth it. They'll clean it up for you, and you just go in and be like, hey, I need these washed. At least the guys that do it for me are like that. They don't really ask, hey, do you need the head surfaced or not? I'm like, yeah, you can check on them, but if they're flat, then they're fine. We don't need to go over them, which is true, because if the engine hasn't overheated, you don't need to have your heads resurfaced. Or if your heads are flat, you don't need to have them resurfaced. If you're just lazy and you want to get the gasket material off of there, then you're just wasting your money. I guess that's another complaint that people say LS swaps are expensive, because they spend their money on stuff that they don't need, like resurfacing already flat heads. I don't know. I mean, having the machine shop do the cam bearings for you, you don't need to do that. You could spend $60 on a tool and be careful and do it yourself. It's not rocket science. I mean, people put head studs on their cam only build and complain about how expensive it was. ARP 2000 head studs are expensive, and they change the geometry when you torque them, so you have to get it honed with a torque plate once you have the head studs on, and that costs money too. And I'm like, why? You got 500 horsepower in a cam only build, and or cam and heads and intake, and you just spend all that money for head studs when you didn't need to at all. But I like to give people tips on saving money. That's why we do the Gen 3 engines, because they're just cheaper. Everyone likes the Gen 4 stuff, but if you're just doing a cam only build and you're just swapping it into something that you want to drive, and it's not really, get a Gen 3. There's no DOD. You don't have to do DOD delete. The computers are free to tune. They're just cheaper and easier. The parts, it's harder, or at least around me, it's harder for me to find a Gen 4 engine in a junkyard than it is Gen 3. These Gen 3 engines are everywhere in junkyards. Not because the engine is junk, but because the vehicle was wrecked. Rarely do I ever see one of these engines in a truck in a junkyard that's not wrecked. But yeah, Gen 3 stuff is way cheaper. The parts are cheaper, and you could put Gen 4 rods in a Gen 3. The crankshaft is basically the same. It just has a different reluctor wheel on the back, and the journals are all the same size. So Gen 3 is the way to go if you're on a budget. There's really no like big determining upside to going with a Gen 4. I mean, yeah, I can't really see it, but I mean, if there is one and that I'm missing, then go ahead and let me know. But you could put Gen 4 rods in a Gen 3, and you'd have to get the crank balanced probably a little bit and whatnot, but not a big deal if you want stronger rods. But even the stock Gen 3 rods would do. And if you want Gen 4 rods already in a Gen 3 engine, go with like an 04 to 06. Then they have Gen 4 style rods in it, like these ones. Then you wouldn't have to worry about getting the crank balance, and then you could save some more money. So, anyways, what was I gonna do? I don't remember. Oh, that's right. I'm not gonna do it right now. But what I do, take an old head bolt, take a cutoff wheel, cut some grooves, just 2 or 3 of them, in preferably like at an angle, kind of like a thread chaser or a thread tap, and then just run them down into the head bolt threads, and it'll clean them out. But make sure first, okay, there's no oil or anything in these holes. or you risk cracking the block via pressure from the bolt. I don't know if it'll crack it because, well, a normal head bolt, if you just run one down and the hole's full of oil, it'll create pressure and you could crack your block doing that. But once you cut the reliefs, I don't know. But just make sure there's no oil or any liquids or anything in these holes. And that's how you just clean the threads real quick. Takes 2 minutes. Get a quick couple of cuts on there and then just run them in and out of each one. And then those threads are cleaned. And then the machine shop should be good to go. So this thing's good to go for the machine shop. Machine shop. How many times I got to say that today? My goodness. Okay, now what we can do is move over to the workbench. All right, guys, we're at the workbench now. What we can do now is start prepping these pistons to be soaked. Let me actually get my soaking material ready to go so that after I'm done with each one of these pistons, I can just dunk them in the soak. Okay, that took forever. Anyways, where's the other can of this stuff here? So I've got 2 gallons of this stuff just because one isn't quite enough to do all 8 pistons. This is a Berryman's Chem Dip. It's originally a carburetor parts cleaner, which I've used to clean many carburetors, and it works amazing. Just takes a while. It just takes a while, you guys. But good things come to those who wait. And this stuff is non-chlorinated. That's why it takes a while, is because it's non-chlorinated. They have many other chem dips that are chlorinated, but they smell up your whole shop forever. Your shop will never smell the same after using the chlorinated kind. Yeah, so this stuff, I just pour these 2 gallons right into this oil pan here. Gently. Well, you can see what I'm doing. Yeah. I might actually go grab another gallon of this soon. Just because I lose a little bit of this stuff every time I use it. Because you rinse it off and it just goes away. So, I believe these are about $35 per gallon. They do sell it by the 5-gallon pail. So you can get it by the 5 gallons if you want. Or I suggest getting a big enough ultrasonic cleaner to where you can just clean all your pistons and connect your rods at the same time. Because doing it this way cleans the pistons, but the connecting rods not so much. So yeah, I would like to get an ultrasonic cleaner. I almost bought one this Christmas time because Vivor was doing a sale on their 30-liter ultrasonic cleaner, and but I didn't have the money at the time, so we didn't do that. This stuff, you can soak your bolts and stuff in this too, which I do all the time. So, all right, so let's prep these pistons. Connecting rods are marked. We're not worried about orientation. Yeah, just start by pulling the rings off. I'm going to go one by one here and pull the rings off. And it's pretty self-explanatory. Get these oil rings off here. Come up out of there. Right in front of my face. Okay. There we go. Number 8, going in the hole. Okay, just to give you a quick little before and after. I've seen a lot worse, but you know, there's carbon all over these. And yeah, scrubbing this is a pain in the butt. So this is why I do it this way. So just throw that in there and continue on. Okay, pistons are in the soak there. Now we'll do the same thing with the main caps and the rocker arms. And usually I would soak the push rods as well, just to get them cleaned up and whatnot. But we're replacing those completely with some new upgraded style push rods, since we're going with a almost 600 lift cam. These would probably do just fine, but we're going with something with a little bit of thicker walls just in case. So we're going to let those soak for about 12 hours. And I guess we can get these heads taken apart. We can deglaze the cylinders on the block. You know, there's a couple places you can go from here. Yeah, we can press out the trunnions and the rocker arms before we soak them. And, you know, a couple other ways to go from here. But yeah, anyways, let's do something else. All right, you guys, let's deglaze these cylinders real quick and see if we need to have them honed or not. This part's pretty simple. You just got to watch your drill speed and make sure you're steady when you go in and out. And basically, we're not changing the size of the cylinder. This doesn't do that. These pads will wear down before you take, you know, too much material off of the cylinder walls there. But if you do go too long with these, I've heard that they can make it egg-shaped or out around, which you don't need to go very long with these. And if you do, then you should probably have it go have it honed anyway. So I just use a bit of WD-40 since we're not going very long with it. We're just going to hit this cylinder real quick. I'm going to spray this down in there first. Come on. Just give it a good soaking in there. Throw this in there. Don't move it until you start spray it in there while you're moving it. But go slow, in and out. A couple seconds, maybe 30 seconds at the most. Stay consistent. Pop it out and then wash it off and then see what it looks like. So I just grab a paper towel here and wipe it out. And I'll bring you close so you can see it as well. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. So let me flip this up real quick so you can see. So you can already see the difference. So this one's all glossy and stuff. And this guy here now is pretty good. You can see there's some scoring still from the pistons, but I could not feel that with my fingernail. So this is looking pretty good. I might go over it just a little bit more just to even things out, but it's got kind of a good crosshatch. Yeah, we're probably going to hit this one more time real quick and then call that a day. I don't see any low spots or nothing like that. So I'm just going to go through and do that same thing to all of these. Check them, make sure they don't need honed at the machine shop. So let's do that. Oh yeah, much better. Much better. Much better. So this cylinder is good to go now. I'm going to send that one. And cross hatching looks awesome. On to the next. And then on to the next. And then on to the next. And the next. And the next. I don't know if that was 8 or not, but we're going on to the next one until we do all. strap you to my chest for this last one. That way I can explain what I'm looking at, what I'm looking for, and stuff like that. You guys are with me now. So first things first, you got to lube it up. And, I mean, I don't think it really matters too much what kind of lube you do. I just use WD-40, and it works just fine. But first things first, when you stick this in here, squeeze it a little bit so it's not like grinding on the edges of the thing as those things are going in. Squeeze it, push it in, let go of it. Don't move it in and out. Like push it in and out while it's not spinning. It'll create little scratches and stuff like that, and you don't want that. So a lot of times I see people, when they go to do this, they stick it in there and just squeeze the trigger, and that thing friggin' spins as fast as it'll go, and then, you know, stop, please. I don't. The only reaction I have to that is just, no, don't do that. You want to go slow, okay, to create a little bit of a crosshatch. A crosshatch means that there's a, I don't know if you can see how this pattern kind of goes that way and then goes that way. It does that all over the place, so it makes it, you know, tons of little X's everywhere, which is the crosshatch, you know. So that that helps keep oil on the cylinder walls. If they're smooth like they were, like this one, see how it's super glossy, smooth? Oil doesn't, I mean, it stays on there, but it's not as good as with the thousands of little crisscrossing grooves that you have just created. They're microscopic, so they're not going to damage your piston rings or anything. They do that from the factory as well, which is, you can still see some of the factory cross-hatching in here maybe. I know I need to cut my fingernails, you guys, but it's been a long week. Get off me. So what we're doing with this basically is just, we're not changing the size of the cylinder. We're just creating more cross-hatching in here. And these are flat, so they're not, if there is any low spots, by low spots I mean like a dent kind of, you know, like, or a warped cylinder wall, you will find that really quick when you use these. If you use the ball hone type, those are flexible, and every little ball will get into every little low spot and just hide it from you, and that can cause issues. So start with these always. You can get these for like 10 bucks at Harbor Freight. These things wear down quite a bit, but you know, I could probably do like 2 or 3 engines with one of these, but they're like 10 bucks. So, and also you can buy ones with interchangeable, you know, arms and different grits and stuff like that, but for this it works just fine. So what you want to do is go slow. Make sure you got plenty of lube. Don't just stick it in there. Squeeze it, put it in, and then go slow and in and out at the same time. And basically, let me zoom you in a little bit so you can see what I'm looking at. Go slow, in and out. I don't know if you can see what I'm looking at, but down at the end, right in the end, like right around there, you can see when you pull it up, the angle at which you're creating the crosshatch, and that needs to, I like to have it around 45 degrees from this plane, so it should be 45-degree angle. If you're going too fast, it'll be a little bit of a shallower angle or deeper, or, you know, but I like to see about 45 degrees, so that's why I go slow with the drill and in and out kind of quickly. So let's see if we can get that angle on there for you. I might need some more lube. And when you ever go to pull that out, don't stop the drill and pull it straight out. Keep it rotating as you're pulling it out. That way it still follows that same, a lot more. That way you can see what I'm talking about. I think we all dripped out of there. Try and keep your speed consistent, both in and out and with the drill. And then when you think you're done, about 30 seconds, pull it out while it's still spinning. Like that. That way the angle from all the way down there, stays all the way the same until you pull it out. And you don't create any grooves or nothing like that. And then you can check your work here. It's pretty simple, you guys. It seems like a lot of things to pay attention to, but really, you know, it's just consistent movements. Don't shove it in there. You got to go in and out consistently. Don't go too fast. You know, sure, we've all heard all of these. So, I'll wipe it out for you. Oh yeah, I can already tell. That's gonna do just fine. Stick you in there real quick. See the angle of the grooves? I guess I don't like calling them grooves because they're not. I mean, you can't feel it. It doesn't feel rough. So, anyways, let me see if I can get a light in there. See if I can stick it up from the bottom there. Come on. Ooh, my phone camera doesn't like that. Where'd the paper towel go? That kind of just made it not look as good. Okay. What about up top here? No. Okay, we're ditching the light, you guys. Sorry. Didn't work like I thought it would. Anyways, you guys see what I'm talking about, right? I mean, hopefully. Let's see if we can get a better angle. See this cross right here? The little crisscross applesauce here. Come on, focus in. There we go. There's some crisscrossy action. There we go. And also, these little scores from the pistons, just make sure you can't feel them with your fingernail, because I can't. And yeah, anyways, that is how to basically deglaze a cylinder. You're not honing your cylinders with those. That's not a cylinder hone. It's just a deglazer, and it's just a little something to tell you if you need to have your cylinders honed at a machine shop. So please use those first and not the dingle ball hone, because the dingle ball hone will hide things from you and lie to you like the devil himself. So, Mama says dingle ball hones are the devil. I'm sorry, I had to. Okay, anyways, that is how to deglaze your cylinders and put a little bit of crosshatching back into them. Now, this block can go to the machine shop to be cleaned only, because it doesn't need honed. And yeah, that's about it for that. So next, we're done with the block for now. Now we can tear apart the cylinder heads, and that's a pretty simple process as well. I have a really cool tool that I use. I promote it on TikTok a lot, but I haven't really shown it on Facebook or YouTube at all, just because every video I've made with it has been a promotion for somebody selling it on the TikTok shop. But it basically bolts into place of your rocker arms, uses a rocker arm trunnion, and then you just put your 3/8 ratchet straight into it, and then you just use your ratchet for leverage, and it just pushes down. It's so much quicker than using the C-clamp type, or that one with the 2 bolts that you got to screw down, and that one sucks. I hate that one. A lot of people swear by that one, and I guess if you're doing like dual valve springs, then that might be better. But the one I'm talking about is just so much quicker. People will argue like, "Oh, I can remove valves quicker with a socket and a hammer." Like, yeah, okay, cool. So can I, but I don't ever like doing that, because when you hit the top of the valve with the socket, it pushes it down into the friggin' table, and like you could bend your valves doing that. No, I mean, you probably don't bend your valves a lot doing that if you do that all the time. Otherwise, you wouldn't recommend it. But the possibility for damage is there, and I'm not a huge fan of that. So we're gonna play it safe and use my little tool that I have. Where's my? I guess we're zip tying this back together. Let me get you off my chest here, you guys. Hold on. Give me a quick sec here. There we go. And then slide that back in there. Okay. let's pull some heads apart. So these are 706 heads. They are the same as the 862 heads that come on most 5.3s. I believe the only difference is these are a semi-permanent mold casting, whereas the 862 heads are cast in sand, like a sand mold. Um, these are going to be a little bit more consistent between each head and other 706 heads. The quality will be more consistent than the sand cast 862 heads, just because sand castings, they can change from head to head and stuff like that. But once these are ported and polished, they're exactly the same. The 862s and the 706 heads, they're exactly the same. Just because porting takes out all the imperfections in the casting and stuff anyway. So the combustion chamber size is the same. I don't have that number on the top of my head, but I'll probably put it up on the screen somewhere during editing. So anyways, 706, 862 heads, both very good heads. Don't be ashamed if you have 862 heads. It's okay. I've heard that 862 heads on an LQ4 is a good idea. Raises the compression and whatnot. Anyways, this is the tool I was talking about for valve spring removal and installation. This thing is amazing. This is my favorite tool that I own. So you can see it's got a rocker arm trunnion in there with bearings and stuff and the bolt, and it just bolts in place of a rocker arm. And I like to use the rocker arm standoff tray thing, and this literally just bolts right in place, sits on there like a rocker arm. Uses a 6 millimeter Allen head. You don't even need to put it in there very tight. So let me get you guys a little closer so you can see what I'm doing here. This thing is awesome, and it just saves so much time and saves the potential for damage. So that's cool too. Anyways, I don't know if I'll be able to get you a closer view without doing the POV thing, but we're just gonna leave you on the stand there. 3/8. See this little square here? The 3/8 ratchet just goes right into it, and yeah, and that's how you do it. So I'm gonna switch to the other side so that I don't get in your way. I like to clamp this side of the rocker arm or the head down. Yeah, I just throw a clamp on here. That way, when you're pushing forward this way, the whole head doesn't want to roll forward. And sometimes I'll put something, I cut this piece of foam out, where it go, in the shape of the combustion chamber, and I'll put it under there sometimes when I'm installing the valves. That way the valves don't push against, they don't go down and push against the table while I'm trying to install the keepers and stuff like that. And this is a very good idea if you don't have one and you're using this tool. It's pretty good. So next thing you need is this little magnet, just to get them keepers out of there. Then we just push down, take the keepers out with the magnet. Oh, come on, just one. There's two. Now that spring is free. And now we can pop the spring out. And the top hat, keepers and all. And then valves come out. And it's just that simple, you guys. With this little tool, it's amazing. I love this thing. So since we're not reusing the springs, we're going to be upgrading the springs to some Pack Racing 1218 springs that are 600 lift. I'll probably just throw those springs in a box for something if I need them later, which I usually don't, and then I just have a ton of springs in a box. But the keepers and the retainer go in the cam dip for cleaning. So next, I'm going to just blast through this whole head here, and yeah, since you saw that, I'll probably do a close-up. Yeah, you know what? Let's just do a close-up real quick on this next one. If I can get you guys all the way up in my face here. Come on, get out of the way. Working here. Working over here. That should do, right? You guys want to go closer? Yeah, that's good there. Okay, let's do it. Where's my magnet? Where the heck? Okay. So, yeah, once you got this bolted down, you just push down. Oh, come on. This magnet, I swear. There's one. Usually they both come out at the same time. Oh, what the heck's going on here? Oh, that one's out. Scared me. That one was weird. I've never had that one do that. But spring's out. And then let's just do another one up close, and then I'm just gonna blast the rest of them out. Because I feel like that one was kind of abnormal. I don't know. See that one? Perfect. Boom. Quick, done, easy, done. Did I say done? I said done. Okay. Now, I'm just going to do the rest of them. Hang tight. Okay. Now, what? Now what? We got to pull the valves out. It's pretty simple. Keep them in order though, because they need to go back in the same cylinder, same spot. Because yeah. Anyways, pretty simple. These are. Let's see. This head goes like this on the engine, so we're gonna pull these out like this. So, intake, inspect as well. Make sure there's no damage. These look pretty good, so put those right by their corresponding rocker arm. The exhaust valves always look like this. I mean, there's usually some pitting on the valve seat, and you know, they're pretty, I don't say they're burnt, but they look pretty burnt, but they're not actually burnt. Anyways, just go through, make sure you just orient everything the way it's going to go back in to the engine. Make sure my mic's still on so I know that I'm still talking to you. Yeah, I mean, they look like LS valves. So, that's that. Now, we can get rid of these valve stem seals. And I just use a pair of these guys here. And you just go down and grab them and pull them out. They come right out. So usually there's a ton of oil underneath of them. Okay, those are out. Let's get these spark plugs out. And then this head will be ready to go to the machine shop. All right, how many times have I said machine shop in this video? Too many. 16. Where's my wrench? There's the wrench. Ew. Oh my. Oh, that spark plug's broken. I can hear it. Maybe not. That was a weird, crispy sound there. Did you guys hear that? I don't think I've ever heard that sound while taking out a spark plug before. I mean, it looks okay. Oh, these are NGKs. PZTR 5A 15. These are the expensive ones. I just use TR55s. They're cheaper and they're copper core. A lot of people use them for their cammed builds. Yeah, I'm not sure what the hell that crunching noise was. Maybe it was my wrench. Hey, out. Hey, this one's a little crunchy as well. But yeah. Now we'll just switch to the power tools because we don't have time for all that unscrewing and stuff. That's crazy. That one looks pretty good. This one had a spider web in it. Spider nest. This one looked a little lean. This one looked a little lean too. Okay, now this head's ready to go to the machine shop. Okay, and then we can throw these all away. Get oil all over my hands again. And then you just repeat the process with the next head, and yeah. And then next, after that, once we get all the keepers and the top hats in there, not top hats, the retainers, we'll just throw them in the dip there, and those only need to soak for about an hour, and then they'll be shiny and brand new. So after that, and then we'll press out these trunnion bearings on the old rockers, because we're going to be upgrading those, because this cam that we're putting in there has 595 lift on the intake and the exhaust. So the stock, well, I don't know. I've heard of people using the stock trunnion bearings past 600 lift. So I don't know. I don't like that. I wouldn't do it. I'd rather upgrade my trunnions so that those bearings don't walk out of place and whatnot, because that could destroy your engine. So I upgrade them every time I upgrade the cam. Not going to hurt anything unless you use like a super cheap upgrade kit and they fall apart and destroy everything. Don't do that. When it comes to engine internals, you guys don't go cheap stuff. Just like the cams, there's a lot. The Sloppy Stage 2 cam is an awesome cam, but there's a lot of Chinese copies, and yeah, they're made in China. I'm not saying that everything made in China sucks, but for a camshaft for an American engine, I know these engines were made in Mexico, but still, they're great engines. But I would not go Chinese on a camshaft for a V8 or for any engine for that matter. So the Chinese copies, probably not a good idea for the sloppy cams, but the sloppy cams are good cams. So I go with Elgin. They're made in America, and I believe they were the first ones to do the sloppy cams. Stick with Elgin. Why was I saying that to you? I don't remember. Anyways, let's get this head apart. We'll come back. I'm just going to do this one because you already seen the whole process, and we'll come back. I want to listen to some music anyways. Okay, let's press some old rocker arm trunnion bearings. My phone's about to die, so we're going to be quick about this one. We replace these because there's nothing really holding these bearings in place, and sometimes they fall out and needle bearings go everywhere. I will explain more about that later when we're putting the new ones in, but for now I just want to show you how easy it is to press these out. So if you look on your rocker arms, one side of the rocker arm has these flat spots right here, and that's so that, well, I use them so that we can press downward on the bearings to get them out of there. And I just use a 13mm socket and an arbor press. They make a tool to where you can use your bench vise and it'll press these out, but this is like $60 at Harbor Freight, and it works amazing and saves you a ton of time. Or you can just buy the rocker arms with the trunnion upgrade kit from Michigan Motorsports already installed, and that'll save you time too, but it'll cost you a little bit more. I believe the trunnion upgrade kit is $112 just for the trunnions and the bearings and the clamps and the whole kit. Comes with new rocker arm bolts as well. The kit that comes already pressed with new rocker arms is like 180 something, so spending a little bit more for convenience, but it's up to you. I like saving money, and I don't mind this process at all. It's not that hard. Not that hard to do. I mean, if you're going to do this just once on your own engine, then yeah, cool. The price of the arbor press is right about the price of the already upgraded rocker arms. So use your better judgment. So these just press out of here. We'll just go. Ooh, maybe. Hold on. Anyways, am I on the wrong one here? No, I'm not. My plate's getting kind of messed up though. So it's not on to sit flat. I've used this thing so many times. Okay, let me get you zoomed in here. There we go. Now, this goes on top. This comes down. And we press. And it just pops right out, just like that. One of the bearings stays in there. This guy comes out. These actually stayed together. That's kind of crazy. They usually come all apart and make a mess. So these, let me see if I can show you real quick. This is the trunnion, right? I know I need to cut my fingernails, you guys. I'm sorry. Just don't look at them. But this is the stock trunnion with the bearings. And I don't know if this has any factor on why they fall out, but these are limited. These can only move so much. I don't think they ever move that much, even with an upgraded cam. But there's nothing holding this in the rocker arm itself. And there's nothing holding those needle bearings in there once that cap comes off. So when this cap comes off or slides out inside your engine, catastrophe ensues, because where's all the needles now? Right there. Oh, now they're all over the place. And this is going to go falling out and probably bounce around a little bit. And those needles are going to just go everywhere inside your engine. So it's worth it just to get a little upgrade going. The new ones are fully, if you see, this, it's kind of a strange design, but the new ones, the inner race, this part is part of the trunnion itself, the middle part, and there's just an outer race, and then there's a lip on this cap here so that the needles can't really come out at all. Also, there's a snap ring on the outside of the trunnion, stopping this from ever even coming out. So it's just it's a little bit better design, and it just adds some safety. So I'm gonna continue to press the rest of these out of here and stop talking so much so I can listen to some music. Got all those old trunnions pressed out of the rocker arms there. Now we can put this thing away for now until it's time to press the new ones in. So, yeah, this thing is awesome. If you do these things all the time, it's worth it. Which I do these things all the time. So this little tool, that's about the only thing I use this thing for, and it just lives there, lives underneath there until I need it again. But yeah, this is the aftermath of that little adventure we just went on. Needle bearings everywhere, trunnions everywhere, but we got a bunch of empty rocker arms, which these are perfectly fine to reuse as long as the tips aren't screwed up or the cups aren't worn out. Like a couple of them we'll probably have to replace, which I have spares, so we'll be good there. But I'm just gonna throw these guys in here wherever they fit and get these guys cleaned as well. That way, as soon as everything's all clean and back from the machine shop, we can just start putting things back together and assembling. Actually, we can start measuring the block and stuff, and measuring for oil clearance and all that fun stuff, because that is a necessary step as well. You need to measure your oil clearance on your main bearings and your rod bearings. That way things aren't too tight, things aren't too loose, and everything's going to work right. Anyways, you guys, next step, since those are all out, yeah, I think that's pretty much it as far as manually doing stuff. We're just going to wait overnight for these pistons to get cleaned. And then once they're done, we'll just pull them out and rinse them down and see the results. And then I'll probably take these to the machine shop first thing in the morning. They're usually done with them in about an hour. So, yeah, during that hour, I can finish cleaning everything else. Yeah, then we'll be ready to throw everything back together. Just the covers, the valve covers, the front and rear cover, I'll just spray it down with the pressure washer. Get some degreaser on there and then spray it down with the pressure washer. I gotta cut the windage tray for the oil pan that we're going to use. But yeah, other than that, that's pretty much most of what we can do until these come back from the machine shop. But yeah, um, I'm done for the night, I guess. It's dark outside and it's about dinner time. So tomorrow we'll come back. We'll take these to the machine shop and then I'll show you the rest of the process. So let's do it. Okay, so it's been a day. I still haven't dropped these off at the machine shop, but I took all the pistons out of that cam dip. I soaked the main caps in the cam dip. They're nice and clean. These pistons came out great. I decided to clean the heads myself because we're trying to save money here. Also, they're not that hard to clean. The block is a different story because there's passages all over the place, and you got to get in there with a scrubber. And I'd rather just have the machine shop put it into the big parts cleaner, and it'll just clean everything. They come out looking brand new, and I love it. So we're gonna leave the block up to the machine shop. I'm gonna take it there tomorrow morning, but I just wanted to show you how these pistons came out. The heads came out awesome. The rocker arms are clean, and yeah, everything is pretty good. I even cleaned the valve covers and the front and rear, like the timing cover, rear main seal cover, and yeah, have a look. So these pistons almost look brand new. I mean, all the junk is off of the tops of them. The connecting rods look okay. We didn't really soak the connecting rods that much, but if you notice, these do have a little bit of scoring and stuff like that. The skirt coating is worn off, but I've already started to remedy that, and this is how I take care of it. If it's not too bad, like these, I cannot feel these scratches with my fingernail whatsoever. I don't know if you can hear that, but none of these catch my fingernail. So these are savable. And basically what I do, I don't know if you can see the crosshatch pattern there. You get some 600 grit sandpaper, just a little piece here. And then what I do is I just kind of go in a crisscross pattern at about 45-degree angles, just very lightly. You don't need to sand off a whole lot of material. You just need to smooth it out a little bit, put a little bit of cross hatching in there. That way it holds oil, and so that it doesn't instantly get scraped up again when you do your cold start or your first startup or something like that. So that's an easy way to save some slightly scratched pistons. These are just worn a little bit. They're not really scored. They look like scratches, but none of these scratches I can feel with my fingernails, so those are completely savable. These heads came out amazing. These things are, as clean as the day GM produced them. Maybe not, I don't know. But they're pretty dang clean. I made sure the insides of these were dry so they didn't rust. The valve seats are dried with a torch lightly so that those didn't rust. But this was just super clean degreaser. You can get it at Walmart. It is by far the best spray-on degreaser that I've used so far. It's not recommended to let it sit on aluminum for a long time because it kind of breaks it down a little bit. So these I just completely soaked for about 10 minutes let them soak, spray them down. I just put my degreaser in a weed sprayer. That way I don't have to sit there and squeeze the friggin' bottle a million times and cramp my forearm up. But put it in a weed sprayer, spray it, just soak it, let it sit, and then hit it with a pressure washer. It doesn't get everything off the first try. If it doesn't, just soak it again. And as you're sitting there soaking it again, you'll see that stuff just to start to melt off. Same thing with this side too. So those look great. These rocker arms came out good too. And yeah, everything's coming along. These main caps, you want to pay attention. I have them laid out in the orientation that they came out of the engine. So number one, they're stamped. 2, 3, 4, and then number 5 would be on this side. Number 5 is the only one facing the different direction. So this one faces the front of the engine. Also, you got to pay attention to see the little dots on each piston. That's how you know which way those face. Those point to the front of the engine, and so on and so forth. So yeah, these keepers and retainers also soaked in the same stuff I cleaned the pistons with, but these only soaked for about 30 minutes, and those came out great as well. Brand new looking. So anyways, what we can do now is probably get these lifters out of here and these push rods out of here, and then just set up our new ones. I'm replacing these push rods and the lifters as well, but we got to soak the lifters, and that'll probably be done in the next video. These heads are ready to be put back together, kind of. I'm going to lap the valves. I got to put the new top hat seals on, get the new springs in there too, but got to lap the valves first. Another thing I forgot to point out is to check your valve tips. Make sure there's no real wear on those. I've had a couple that were just like, about a 16th of an inch shorter than the rest of them, because they were just wearing prematurely and they were kind of like mushroomed at the top. But yeah, pay attention to that. That'll also be indicative of some damage underneath the rocker. I know I still have to cut my fingernails, you guys. Sorry. I'll get to it. I'll get to it eventually. But this thing's ready to go to the machine shop. We can also get to hand cleaning this crank as well. We'll be doing that shortly. First thing in the morning, I'm going to drop that bad boy off. Usually only takes about an hour. And then they give me a call and be like, hey, your block's done. And then we can get to measuring some bearing clearances and measuring some piston ring end gap. The piston rings I got are standard size, and they do come pre-gapped, so they should be good there. We can open them up if we want to. If you're planning on running boost, then I suggest opening up the piston ring end gap a little bit, and we'll go over what to open it up to when we get to that. But this video is coming to an end after we do some bearing measurements and piston ring measurements. That'll be it. And then the next video will be assembly. And then I can explain how to assemble everything. And then the fun part starts, because then we get everything on there and complete, and then we can make the harness. That'll be a whole other video. And then we can tune the computer. That'll be a whole other video. So anyways, yeah, we'll come back in the morning. I'll take you to the machine shop with me, and I mean, it's not really anything exciting. I just drop the block off, and they say, hey, we'll call you when it's done. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then I come home. So maybe I won't take you with me. But yeah, anyways, see you tomorrow. Okay, I didn't take you with me, but this is clean. Just got it back from the machine shop here. Gotta blow out some of this dust in there, but yeah, internals are shiny. They look brand new. So they said the cylinders look fine and all that too. The outside's got a little bit of rust on it, but it's an iron block, so what do you expect? That's fine. We're gonna go over it with a wire wheel, try and get as much of that rust off as we can, and then we're just gonna paint over it, because that's what you do. All right, so let me get you a close-up of this in here real quick, that way you can see how clean it is. Nice and clean, no more oil residue and none of that stuff. So this should be great. But yeah, this is what, I mean, that's what happens. Thought I just saw a spider or something. Anyways, that's what happens with these iron blocks once the paint kind of goes away. A little bit more over here on this side, but not to worry. We're going to get as much of that off as we can with the old wire wheel, and then we're just going to recoat it, throw on some primer, and then maybe just a coat of black or whatever. I got to consult the customer, see what color he would prefer, because I am going to paint it. And yeah, so we're getting ready to reassemble some heads here. I got to clean these valves off real quick, and then we can get to lapping some valves, throw them valve stem seals on there, and then we can move on. So let's get to it. All right, guys, I lied about putting the head together. That'll be the next video. That's in the assembly video. So we're gonna do it separately, and I gotta wait and do other things before I do that anyway. So real quick, since this video is getting super long, I want to explain to you guys how to measure for bearing clearance, specifically main cap bearing clearance. The same method applies for measuring your connecting rod bearing clearance, for your oil clearance, to get that perfect amount of oil in between the main caps, the bearings, and the crankshafts. So I like using King bearings. King's makes great main and rod bearings, and I usually order them, but when I can find them cheaper, I go that route. So I don't know if you've heard of these guys, but Engine Tech, they're basically a rebranding company. But most of the time, whenever I order their bearings, I get King bearings for cheaper than I would get King bearings for. So if you when you open them up like this, hold on. So usually, I don't think I've ever ordered a set of Engine Tech bearings and not gotten King bearings before. So there's a way you can tell as well is when you open up your bearings. These are their main bearings. I've already checked the rod bearings. They are the same. These are standard main bearings. Let me move over here so you can see this. This is a set of standard main bearings, and if you look right there, that is King's logo. So these are King main bearings. So whenever I can, I'll order Engine Tech. Also, a lot of times, not every single time, when you get piston rings from them, they're Hastings piston rings. So good stuff there. I use these guys a lot, but mainly I usually just order King bearings. But every once in a while, I'll order a set of Engine Tech and then open them up and check them. And if they're not King bearings, then I would send them back. But I haven't not gotten King bearings yet. So what we're going to do is we're just going to install one of these. Oh, that's the wrong end here. Hold on. Normally, I would do all of these. All right, put them all in the caps, put them all in the block, and then what you got to do is torque. You torque the main caps all the way down through the whole torquing sequence, and then what you do is you take a micrometer and measure the corresponding journal on the crankshaft with a micrometer. Your micrometer doesn't have to be accurate; it just needs to be able to lock, and the anvils need to be somewhat parallel, or parallel. They need to be flat against each other when they're closed. I don't really know the right term for that, but yeah. So we're just gonna do one for now because I got other things that I need to do first, and this video is getting kind of long, so we're just gonna speed it up real quick. But it's the same with all the other ones. So what we're gonna do? Let's grab our main cap bolts. We're just going to grab a few of those. We're going to place, let me move you out here real quick. Okay, so here is our nice shiny clean block here. I'm going to install the number 1 main bearing in the block. And then what we're going to do, we're going to install that main cap. Like I said, when you do this for real, you'd install all of them and torque all of them down throughout the whole torque sequence, which there's 2 steps, and make sure you have the right cap in the right orientation. We're just going to do number 1 for now. I got a new mallet, so we're going to test her out. I still have my old one, but I like to just tap these down gently. until that sound changes. And then give them a tap like that. Now, we'll throw our bolts in there. Make sure these holes are clean. These are because I just got this back from the machine shop and they cleaned the crud out of this thing. So, we're going to just send these down. Not super tight with the impact there. Man, this 15 is grungy too. We just want to get it tight enough so it seats, and then so we can torque it. Grab the torque wrench and just go through the torque seat. Main caps, the inner bolts, which are these two here are the inner bolts. The first pass is 15 foot-pounds, which I probably just did that with my impact. So we'll check those real quick, and that's for both of them. Inner and outer is 15 foot-pounds. 15. Almost there. Then we'll do the same with the outer bolts. I like to go inner and then outer. Yeah, those are sent those a little too hard. So when you do your final torque, if you end up finding that you use the impact gently to send these down and they're already at 15, you don't really know if they're at 15 or just over. So I like to just kind of loosen them just a little bit and then get to 15 with the torque wrench instead of the impact, because with the impact you don't really know if you went over or not. So there's 15 there. Those were just fine. Then the next pass, which I'm not going to do right now. I know it's not, my measurement's not going to be that accurate, but this is not, I'm going to do this all over again, all at the same time. So this is just for showing you how to do it. The next, the final pass, so there's only 2 passes, would be for the inner bolts, 80 degrees. So you need, if you're not using ARP bolts, and you're using the stock OEM style, these are not torqued to yield, they're torqued to angle. So you can reuse these about 3 times. I wouldn't reuse them more than that. So if you do buy new bolts, you can torque them like this to measure your bearings, and then you loosen them, install your crankshaft, and then you can torque them again, and they'll be fine. So 80 degrees, you'll need a torque angle meter or digital torque wrench. If you got one of those, well, I think they'll tell you angle. I don't know, I've never used one. And then the outer studs are 51 degrees for the outer ones. Inner ones are 80, 51 degrees outer. And then the side bolts are just 18 foot-pounds. And we're not going to use those right now just because we don't need to. So pretend these are torqued to 80 degrees and 51 degrees and the side bolts are in, and just pretend along with me here. So next thing you will do, get you a 2 to 3 inch micrometer, outside micrometer. 2 to 3 inch micrometer. What you're going to do, so what we're going to do with this is we are going to measure, this is the number 1 journal because we're measuring the number 1 bearing, main cap. So what we're going to do is just basically get a measurement on this journal here. You don't need to know the actual size of it, but you need to make sure that your micrometer locks. I'm going to say that's pretty good there. Basically just get your measurement off of there, lock it in place. This is our measurement here. I'm not even going to read the numbers because it doesn't really matter right this second. Now what you're going to do, take your dial bore gauge. This does have to be pretty accurate. I've been using this one for a while and it's pretty accurate. So what you're going to do is zero your dial bore gauge to your micrometer. Might need to set it up somehow. So basically a dial bore gauge is going to be a comparison tool. It's not going to give you an actual measurement, but it's going to tell you what the difference is. We just turn the dial till we're close. Hold on. This is hard to do from this angle here because I can't really see exactly what's going on here. Hold on. Okay, so now effectively what that did was it zeroed this to the size of the #1 crank journal for the main bearing. So we'll come over here to the main bearing that we've torqued down, and we'll measure the difference. So go ahead and stick that in there. And what you do is you just rock it back and forth until that dial stops. So wherever it stops is your smallest measurement. Looks like we're seeing a clearance here. I don't know if you can see that, but the smallest number where that needle stops is about 3.5 thousandths. 3.5 thousandths of an inch, which is a little big, but it's okay in this situation because I didn't torque this down all the way. Also, this block is cold. What you really want to do is get this up to about, I want to say like 75 degrees Fahrenheit, and then the metal expands when it gets warm and stuff like that, so the tolerance will be a bit tighter. So 3.5 thousandths is too big. You want at least 1.8 thousandths to about 2.2, I believe, is the factory spec. 2 thousandths is like right where I like to see it. This is 3.5, but again, this block is freezing cold. It's about 60 degrees Fahrenheit, and not freezing cold, obviously, but it's about 60 degrees Fahrenheit because it's cold in here in this garage, and this isn't torqued all the way. So once I torque this all the way, 80 degrees on these and 51 degrees on these, and heat the block up a little bit with my little space heater, then it'll be a lot more accurate. I believe it'll be around 2 thousandths of an inch oil clearance, which is perfect. So once we get that done, that's one of the reasons why I don't want to do this fully right now, is because the block is cold and I have other things to do before I do that. So that is how to measure your oil clearance on your main bearings. The same thing applies to your rod bearings. You torque your rod caps with the bearings in there and measure it the same way. Take your micrometer and measure your rod journals on your crankshaft the same way. And yeah, that was just a really quick run through on how to do that. And I know my measurement wasn't very accurate because I just did it real quick and whatnot. So that is a really important step, though, is to measure your clearances. That way you have enough oil getting to the bearings. It's not too tight and it's not too loose. So that's a good way to find out what bearings you need. This crank was perfectly fine. It's never been machined. So I just went ahead and ordered standard size bearings just because I do that every single time to save time, and it works out usually. I don't think I've ever had to order oversized or undersized bearings. As long as the crank is not damaged, or these journals aren't damaged, or the rod journals aren't damaged, the rod caps or anything aren't damaged like that, usually you're going to run standard size bearings. Now we can move on quickly and measure piston ring end gap real quick. I'll show you how to do that, talk about it a little bit and why you need to do it. And yeah, then that'll be the end of this video. So let's do that real quick. So this process is fairly simple too. As long as you got pre-gapped rings and your cylinders aren't all out of whack. So. Also, Engine Tech piston rings, standard set. The bags are marked. Third groove, first groove, second groove. This one's third groove as well because there's two types of rings that go in the third groove. We will wait on those. We don't really need to deal with those right now. So go ahead and crack your piston rings open. Let's see if I can tell what brand these are. These don't have any markings. Sometimes they're marked top or something like that. Up, there's an arrow or something like that, or just a dot, letting you know which part of the ring faces upwards. It doesn't always mean that that's the top ring. The top ring, you'll know how it's the top ring because it comes in the first groove bag. These, yeah, see these ones, these are the second ring. These are marked up. These ones say up on them. So this side faces up because usually on these ones there's a little like hook part around the whole perimeter on the bottom side, kind of just to scrape all the oil off the cylinder as the piston goes down. And that's basically all the second ring does. So since these are not marked, that means we can put these in any orientation that we want to. So first ring, second ring. This process is pretty simple. You will need a set of feeler gauges. Point you down range there. Hey, it looks like a 4-cylinder. Ew. Good thing it's not. Okay, so I like to start with the first ring. And usually what I'll do is I'll just put them all in the cylinder on one side. Now, once you measure these rings and or gap them yourselves, those rings now need to stay with the cylinder that you gapped them for and measured them in. So I always just put them so the gap is facing the rear of the engine. Doesn't really matter, but that's just how I do it. That way I can just go through and measure them all. And it's a good idea to write down your measurements with these. Same thing with when you're measuring your main bearings. Write down the clearance on what bearing it is. That way, you know. Anyways, so now what I like to do, if you don't have a piston ring squaring tool or something, you want to measure it, I want to say about 1.5 inches or 1 inch down into the bore. You don't want to measure it right up top because metal starts to move around when it gets hot and it changes shape, and so I'll push it all the way down about till this part of the piston is flush with the cylinder deck. Maybe a little bit lower. Just make sure it's even though. And there we go. We'll do the same thing with all 4 of these. Just make sure they're even. Pretty simple. There we go. Now, take your feeler gauge. I believe the stock spec is 0.18 to 0.25. I don't know. You'll have to look that up, or during editing, I'll just put it on the screen because I can't remember off the top of my head. I'll probably just pause this and look it up. That way I know what I got. So we're going to start with, 0.018. Sorry, not 0.18. That's way too big. So we're going to start with 0.016, and we're going to grab all the way up to 0.025. Just so we have those ones out. And then put them all away. Then we're going to go through and just see which one fits the snuggest without being too tight. So 0.16, too small. Or 0.016, too small. 0.018, she fits. She fits in there. It's a little snug, but it fits. And it's not crazy tight. Dang it. I just put all those away. Okay, so we're going to go to the next one now. 0.016, way too loose. 0.018 is pretty good. So 0.018. All right, you guys. I didn't realize my camera had stopped recording. So I went and did all of the top rings in every cylinder. They were all 0.018. So perfectly across all of them. And something else that I had mentioned, make sure you keep that piston ring that you measured in cylinder 1. That one now goes on piston number 1. And so on and so forth. The piston ring you measured in cylinder number 3 goes on piston number 3. Also explained why we measure the ring gap is because, pretend this is a piston ring, right? Here's the gap. When you put it in that bore, it kind of squeezes it a little bit, and it kind of forces itself against the outside of the cylinder, and which holds the compression above that ring as well. The little gap, when that ring gets hot, it expands. The gap doesn't expand, the ring itself expands, and that gap gets a little bit smaller. And once it gets up to operating temperature, it's not really going to change much. But if that gap is too small, and when that piston ring heats up, if those ends touch each other, it has nowhere else to expand to, and it's still getting hot, so it's still expanding. And what it does is expand more outwards around the whole radius of the piston ring, and that will score your cylinders. It'll seize that ring on the cylinder wall, and probably break your pistons, maybe bend a connecting rod, etc., etc. Catastrophic failure. You don't ever want that to happen. So measure your piston ring end gap and open it up if you want to a little bit for boost, because when you add a turbo or higher compression even, it produces more heat, so that ring is going to expand a bit more. So very important, if you're adding a turbo, open that ring gap up. Anyways, we're going to do the second rings. The second rings, I like my second rings to either be the same gap as the first ring or a little bit bigger. And what that does is just help the gases that get trapped between the two rings, helps it to escape a little bit easier. And yeah, so we're going to shove those in the cylinders there and measure those guys out. We're just going to do a real quick one and finish out the video. Let's do this side. Just the one for now, because my phone is about to die. So there's the gap. I can already tell that it's a little bit bigger. Yeah, 0.018 slides in there, no problem. All of the other top rings were 0.018. So 0.018 is a little bit small in there. So we're going to go 0.02. That one's a little bit loose in there as well. So 0.022. That one fits just perfectly. So 0.022 with the bottom rings. I'm going to do the rest of these real quick, and we'll come back to you. Okay, so I was wrong about this one. It's 0.020. So just slightly bigger than the first ring. Same with this one. 0.020. 0.020 on that one. 0.020 on that one as well. So those are good. We are done, I believe, with that. I'm not done because I still got to measure bearings and stuff like that, but I'm done explaining it to you. Anyways, yeah. So piston rings measured, main bearings measured. Don't worry, I'm gonna measure the main bearings. I'm gonna do that, and I'll probably put it in the next video. But I've explained why I'm not doing that right this second. So, next video. Yeah, next video is assembly. There's that. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. It was kind of longer than the last one, but there was a lot to go over. A lot of how I do things and whatnot. So, sorry I didn't show cleaning the heads and stuff. It's really not that fun to watch water get sprayed at my face over and over from splashing back. It's just wasn't fun to do. So filming it probably would have been frustrating. Anyways, yeah, next video, I'll show you how to reassemble the heads, how I lap the valves, and we're going to press in some rocker arm trunnions. We're going to measure, I guess we'll measure some bearings. I'll show you how to install cam bearings the easy way. That's pretty easy. Mallet and that cam bearing tool, same as taking them out. Just got to be a little more careful putting them back in. So, yeah, and then much more. So, stay tuned for that. That'll be next weekend, hopefully, depending on how much I can get done. I'm going to try and do that all within one day, but filming and doing it slows me down a little bit. So, if I skip over anything, I'm sorry. It's because I got to get this done because I got to pay rent. So, yeah, stick around. Before we start assembly, though, I'll go over all the parts that I'm using and part numbers and stuff like that. So, anyways, thanks for watching, you guys. I appreciate you. Hit that like and subscribe button. Follow along for more. And yeah, anyways, go check out the website. We got hoodies, shirts, hats. We got 3D printed parts. I'm selling these guys now, the lifter and push rod trays. We've got other things that I 3D print. Got an oil drain back jig so you can drill holes in your piston so that oil drains back better on him. I might throw that up on the website here pretty soon. But go check it out. I'll put the link in the description. And yeah, stay tuned for the next one, you guys. I appreciate you. LS swap everything, and have a good one.